Hi guys, this is Fade from nerffaids.blogspot.com, and this is the 11th Faidian Slip. In video today, we are in Blackwing Descent. This is my guild's first pull on Nefarian, normal mode, 10-man. We killed Atramedes for the first time this evening, and we decided to take a look at Nefarian. We're very unprepared. No one's really done any research since we weren't intending to fight him tonight, and so it's pretty much a wipe fest, but it was fun to go in and see it even if we didn't know what we were doing. I suppose I should give credit to our actors this evening. In the raid tonight, this is all Legacy of the Illuminati. We've got myself, Fade. We've got Gilena, Rimlin, Marusha, Storath, Elith, Eluniar, Iziel, Wargallo, and Nanali. So that's our players this evening. And now on to more Faidian Slip style action. Big news is, of course, on Tuesday 406 is supposed to come out. So you're going to want to make sure your stockpiles of volatile life are ready. You're going to want to make sure you've got gems ready for the people who are suddenly discovering jewel crafting sockets that they didn't already have before. And then you're just going to want to do anything that we mentioned before to prepare for 406, since there was plenty of stuff to do. My main little adventure recently has been doing a profession shuffle. I power leveled tailoring and enchanting on my mage. I dropped enchanting off of my shaman and power leveled mining. And I dropped mining off of Fade and power leveled blacksmithing. So needless to say, I've been spending some time on professions the past couple days. I was surprised to find out I really didn't spend that much gold. With all 4 professions leveled almost entirely via the auction house, I only spent about 13,000 gold total, and that also includes the epic flying I bought for my shaman. So for the actual leveling, I probably only spent about 8,000 gold. I did this mostly because I was sick of having mining on Fade, since I'm not really prone to farming. And also because I just don't like having professions that I'm not using. If I'm not using mining, why have it? Granted, yes, I did end up leveling mining on another character because I need to be able to smelt, but other than that, I don't use mining at all. So I wanted to make sure at least the character I play, Fade, had a really useful profession for that slot, not one that's barely even used. It's really... When you have multiple characters specifically, or even just a single character, you don't want profession slots to go to waste. You can use any profession to make gold. Some, granted, will make more than others, but all of them can make gold. If you want to use your profession to make gold, do it. If you aren't going to use your profession, find a profession that you can use to make gold. Because a profession slot going to waste is just a sad, sad thing. Speaking of professions that I don't use, mostly because I don't have on this one, I rarely ever talk about leatherworking and skinning because I don't have a max level 1. The reason I don't have a max level 1 is because my boyfriend does. And just our luck, I just happened to get him to guest star in this week's Faidian Slip. And so I introduced to you the server first 525 leatherworker for Argent Dawn, as well as the hunter featured in this awesome video you're watching now. Here is Eluniar to tell us all about leatherworking and skinning.
Hi, this is Eluniar from Argent Dawn here, the leatherworker. Now, as I understand, we're going to be talking a little bit here just about some leatherworking things going on, a little bit of leatherworking, a little bit of skinning, things we can do to help maximize our gold income. I don't really get into the gold making as much as Fade here, but I do a couple easy things here just to help make a little bit of extra gold along the way. To start with, some of the most immediately obvious ones that we have are armor kits, which of course, all you need are some pristine hide, and if you can scrape up some blackened dragon scales, find some volatile fire, you can definitely take those, turn them around into armor kits, and repost them for considerably more on the auction house here. That'll definitely make you a good amount of gold with very little, almost no effort. Now, another thing to keep in mind while you're getting your armor kit materials together, making sure you're getting that all set up there, with those pristine hides, you don't necessarily have to buy those as pristine hides off the auction house. Of course, you can skin those, which is wonderful whenever you do skin one of them. However, another option to get these pristine hides off the auction house without actually physically typing in pristine hide, clicking one, and buying one, is you can actually purchase the heavy savage leather. It's 10 heavy savage leather, and you can go turn those in to the Twilight Highlands vendor, and from there you can go ahead and purchase one of those pristine hides. And then, of course, any sort of lower version as well, you can turn the regular savage leather up, or if savage leather scraps are cheap enough, cost effective enough, you can go ahead and buy those and turn those all the way up through the savage leather, heavy savage leather, and then ultimately go buy your pristine hides. Whatever is of course the most cost effective method of doing this on your server, since different servers are going to have different costs for those amounts of leathers, and it's all about just making sure you know exactly what's going to be the most cost effective method for you, and from there you can go ahead and just buy it, change it up, and then go ahead and make those armor kits and throw them on the auction house. It's easy money, and it's one of the best ways to get started with leatherworking. Now, of course, some other things that you have available here too. You don't just have to make the epic armor kits. You can, if you're starting out with a little bit less gold, or you aren't quite high enough skill yet, you can definitely start with the blue armor kits, and some of those you can actually even make a really good amount of profit from. Since they take fewer mats, it's less of a risk. You can go ahead and buy some of those and get some of the cheaper armor kits up there, help start rolling in with the gold there. That's a good way to get started. And then of course don't forget about just the straight stamina kits, the ones that just take heavy savage leather. That's still, I want to say something like 44 stamina, and that's a good way to get something made and make some easy quick money on the auction house. Won't be a whole lot, but it'll be something to get started with, and it's really easy and simple to do. Another thing to definitely keep in mind is don't forget about your older patterns, because you've still got the nether cleft armor kits, the regular cleft hide armor kits, you've got the Borean armor kits and whatnot. Definitely check and make sure, because there are definitely going to be twinks that want those armor kits, and lower level players that will buy them, surprisingly enough. And I mean, especially if you've got large amounts of leather in storage. I tend to hoard leather, so I always have large amounts left over and ready. But I mean, if you've got stuff stashed up, or if you're finding it for cheap on the auction house, you can definitely pick that up, turn it into armor kits, and put it back on the auction house, and people will buy it. Especially with some of the cleft hide and nether cleft, those are a bit more popular with the twinks, since you could put those on some of the really lower level gear. And that's definitely a good place that you can also put your primal nethers into. If you're running the Sethic Halls for the Enzu mount, Magister's Terrace for the Hawkstrider, and you're getting primal nethers, that's definitely a good way that you can utilize those to help make yourself some additional money, instead of just throwing it up in the auction house, or worst of all, vendoring it. So that's definitely some good use that you could put those primal nethers to, and help make a couple quick extra gold on top of everything. Also, with those primal nethers, if you still have that pattern, there's the Quiver of 1,000 Feathers. That was a Burning Crusade pattern, and it used to make a really high-end hunter quiver. However, with the change and the removal of the hunter quivers and ammunition and everything, now it's just a 20-slot bag. But that 20-slot bag is still a very good opportunity for some money making right there. Especially, like I said, if you've got those primal nethers, one thing you can do is you can actually make some of those Quivers of 1,000 Feathers. Light feathers are basically worthless to anyone really at this point. Anyone who has that glyph so they don't need the reagent. I think that's mages and priests and whatnot. But basically, you're not going to see them when they're on the auction house. They're not going to be expensive at all. You can go ahead and sweep those things up, and you'll have plenty for this bag. And I mean, you can go ahead and turn that right around, make a 20-slot bag, and I mean, that right there, there are alts who are still looking for 16, 18, 20-slot bags, and that's a good way that you can dump some of those primal nethers into it and make some gold, again, depending upon your server. The price is going to fluctuate a little bit, but that's a good way that you can put those primal nethers to use if you aren't comfortable with the nether cleft armor kits as well, and if you have that pattern available. And of course, on the subject of bags, definitely don't forget about your Mammoth Mining Bag, your Traveler's Trapper Pack thing, and the Pack of Endless Packet Pockets, whatever. There's the Inscription, the Leatherworking, and the Mining one. And the people who are storing those, the people who go out mining, and the people who need those Inscription bags. This is still the source of getting those. It's through leatherworkers. So definitely, if you have that Borean leather still there, you can make those mining bags and you can make those inscription bags and whatnot. And that's definitely a good way to make some money with that. Just because it's not a current pattern, definitely don't forget about it, because it's still in your arsenal and it still gives you the capability to craft some items that will make you some good money. Also, as leatherworkers, we definitely have our drums still available here to us. We have the Drums of Forgotten Kings, which can definitely help a raid group out if you you don't have a druid available or a paladin available or a hunter that can hand out that buff. So definitely, those drums still hold some value. They don't tend to hold as much as they did before, simply because now more classes can bring that buff available, but it's still definitely there, and depending on your server, can make you some money. And even some of the other drums, like there's the Drums of Panic, which still will work at 85. And some of these other drums increases your movement speed. They definitely have these effects available that still may hold some use. They just, depending upon your server, certain groups and certain people may be interested in them. So definitely check out even some of these weirder things that you may not immediately think would sell. You've also got the heavy leather ball, comfortable insoles, the Gordok armor, the Gordok suit from Dire Maul. If you still have some of those tannins, those are much more difficult to get a hold of. They don't, not Thimblejack isn't there anymore, so you can't get those tannins from the crate, and that's definitely something that you can sell. You can go ahead and advertise and trade or put them on the auction house, and those Gordok armor kits right there, they turn people into ogres. You slash dance and you look all silly and stuff, but it will make you some money. That's definitely some different options to explore with the leatherworking profession. While some of your things, some of your recipes, such as the riding crop, definitely aren't really going to be worth investing into. It's a primal might for a mount speed increase that you can use for levels 69 and 70. That's really not going to appeal to hardly anyone. But still, definitely take a look and examine at each one of your patterns, as well as the patterns that you don't have. Take a look at the patterns that you haven't taken the time to get, and really take a look at how you can utilize those for the market in general. Even like the winter boots that just about every leather worker can get during the winter season, you can still maybe scrape up some mats for cheap and sell them in the off season, and maybe someone wants the winter boots because they look cool or something. A large amount of these are definitely going to make a difference on your server. Argent Dawn is an RP server, so that really helps increase the gold making capability. But it's still, even if you're not on an RP server, take a look at each of these items. Really just put a day or so into investigating your profession, seeing how they work on the market, and you'll really be surprised with how much money you can make even with just what little you have. The more patterns you have available, the more money making opportunities you have for certain. So as you can see, there are definitely a lot of different opportunities for utilizing your leatherworking. It's just a matter of really getting in there and taking a look at what you have available and what you can do with it. Once again, my name is Eluniar of Argent Dawn, Night Elf Hunter. Just want to thank you for listening to this, and back to Fade here.
I hope that helped you guys out a lot with the leatherworking and skinning and all that good stuff, since it's not something I know a lot about, but he's probably one of the most knowledgeable leatherworkers on our server, so I figured giving him a while to talk would be nice. And yes, before you ask, I play a tank. He plays a female Night Elf Hunter, because we're cool like that. I hope this was really useful for those of you guys who do have leatherworkers. Even if you weren't, I hope that maybe it'll make you think about leatherworking a bit more as a money-making profession. Everyone be sure that you're all prepared for Tuesday, because 406 should be a really good patch. And please be sure to check out my blog over at nerffaids.blogspot.com. And thanks so much for watching this Faidian Slip. Goodbye from myself, and I'm sure Eluniar says goodbye as well.
I'll see you around.